Chapter 1. The Road to the Village. A thick fog blanketed the narrow path leading to the village Minh had sought for months. On his back was a small backpack with only a few notebooks, a camera, and a flashlight. His footsteps echoed hollowly in the silence, like an intruder trespassing into a place that didn't belong to the living. Minh was a freelance journalist obsessed with mysterious tales. He had heard whispers of an ancient village erased from all maps. Known only by the hushed name, the Bloodgrave Village. No one dared to approach it. Those who did either vanished without a trace or returned hollow-eyed, unable to utter a coherent word. The road narrowed, hemmed in by twisted, gnarled trees that loomed like the arms of demons. Every gust of wind stirred the leaves into whispering voices, as if unseen spirits were gossiping about him. When he finally reached the entrance, two rotting wooden posts held up a leaning gate. Above it hung a weathered sign, letters smeared in faded red paint. "Do not enter after sunset." The wind rocked the board back and forth, screeching against the wood. Minh swallowed hard, goosebumps rising along his arms. His watch read 5 o'clock. Dusk was already bleeding across the forest. "Just superstition," he muttered to himself. Yet as he crossed the threshold, a chill seized him. It felt as though 100 unseen eyes fixed on his every step. The air thickened, rank with mold and the faint reek of blood. Ahead stretched a dirt path, flanked by decrepit houses with shuttered windows, their dark cracks staring back at him like watchful eyes. No chickens crowed, no dogs barked, not a sound of life stirred. Only the fog crept deeper, swallowing the village in its grip. And in that moment, Minh knew with dreadful certainty, this village was not abandoned, it was waiting for him. Chapter 2. The Old House. Night fell as Minh ventured deeper. The air grew colder, and every step sank into damp earth with a squelch like whispers from the ground itself. The houses stood crooked, their roofs caving in, walls streaked with moss. Every window was sealed, every door barred tight. Yet one house at the end of a narrow lane glowed faintly with the flicker of lamplight. Curious, Minh approached. The moment he set foot on the steps, the door groaned open. Inside, an old woman hunched beside an oil lamp, her hair silver and tangled, her face hollow, skin shriveled like dried bark. Her eyes were all white. She lifted her head, her voice rasping like it rose from another world. "You should not be here. Outsiders never leave alive." Minh froze. He opened his mouth to ask, but she raised a twisted hand, bones cracking audibly as she moved. Then she mumbled incoherently, a dirge-like moan. Suddenly, her pale eyes locked onto him. Her voice cut sharp and cold. "Go, before the moon rises." The lamp snuffed out. The door slammed. Minh stood in darkness, heart pounding wildly. From inside came a broken laugh, mingled with a slow, deliberate knocking, like the beat of a funeral drum. Chapter 3. Whispers in the Night. That night, Minh chose an abandoned wooden shack near the edge of the forest to rest. The air inside reeked of mildew, but it was shelter. He laid his bag down, wrote hurried notes by flashlight, then collapsed onto the creaking bamboo bed. At midnight, he woke with a jolt. Not from the wind, not from the forest outside, but from whispers. At first, faint murmurs drifted from the corners of the room. Then they grew louder, surrounding him, distorted voices that hissed. "He has come. His blood will unlock. Stay with us." Minh grabbed his flashlight, shining it frantically. Empty walls, cobwebs, dust, but the whispers grew sharper, breathing against his ear. The light flickered, then died. The room plunged into suffocating black. And then, on the wall before him, red streaks bled through the wood. Thick, fresh blood ran downward, spelling words in jagged strokes. "Leave before dawn." A guttural laugh echoed from the shadows. Then silence. Only Minh's frantic heartbeat filled the room, as his wide eyes stayed fixed on the words dripping across the wall. Chapter 4. The Blood Mirror Lake. Morning light banished the words. The walls bore no trace of blood. Minh, trembling and sleepless, left the shack, unsure if it had been dream or curse. He followed the sound of running water to a vast lake. Its surface shone like glass, reflecting the trees perfectly. He leaned closer, only to recoil in horror. The reflection wasn't him. It was his face hollowed out, eyes gushing black blood, lips cracked into a grotesque grin. The reflection shuddered violently, as though trying to crawl out of the water. The lake rippled crimson. A stench of raw blood filled the air. Then a voice whispered, rippling from the depths, "You will die here, this place has claimed you." The water broke. Pale, rotting hands shot up from below, grasping at his ankles. One icy grip latched onto his leg, dragging him downward. Minh tore free, stumbling back, barely escaping the grasp of the dead. When he looked again, the lake was clear, still, innocent, except for the faint outline of a man, his own figure, standing on the water, smiling, waving at him. Chapter 5. The Hundred-Year Banyan. The path curved to a clearing where a massive banyan tree towered, its roots like giant serpents crawling across the earth. Its trunk was gouged with deep grooves, scars left by ropes long since rotted. Some of the gashes still oozed a dark, tar-like fluid, reeking faintly of blood. Minh laid a trembling hand on the bark. A low moan vibrated through the tree, chilling his bones. Above, in the dense canopy, shadows dangled, dozens of bodies swaying gently, faces swollen purple, tongues protruding, eyes staring wide open. And as Minh watched, every corpse slowly twisted its head downward to stare at him. He stumbled back, tripping over a thick root. A body dropped in front of him with a sickening thud, a man, rope still biting into his neck, his eyes bulging, his mouth frozen in a ghastly grin. Then, as suddenly as it came, all vanished. Only leaves rustled softly. But at Minh's feet lay a length of frayed rope, slick and damp as if freshly cut from a neck. Chapter 6. The Buried Journal. In a collapsing wooden house, Minh found a rotting chest. Inside was not treasure, but a blood-stained journal. The handwriting belonged to a young woman. Day 12. The moon reddens again. Another is tied up, taken away. They say blood must be given to keep the village alive. Day 15. Cries echo through the village. No one dares leave their homes. They have locked us in. I hear digging beneath the floor, someone being buried alive. Day 19. I dream of the dead. They stand around my bed, whispering my name. I know next time, it will be me. The final page was smeared with wet crimson letters. The one who comes after, will be the next sacrifice. The floor beneath Minh thudded. Knock, knock, knock. From beneath the boards, he shone his light. A crack split open, and from it, a pale finger clawed upward, scratching desperately. The journal pages whipped open in a sudden gust. Letters scrawling fresh and dripping red. Do not run. You have been chosen. Chapter 7. The Blood Moon Night. Night fell. The sky burned red, as if the heavens themselves were aflame. Minh staggered out of the ruined house, the journal still sticky with dried blood in his trembling hands. The air was thick, every breath choking. From afar came the steady boom of drums. Heavy, funereal beats reverberated through the village. Then came the sound of wailing, dozens of voices crying at once. Like a mass funeral procession, Minh crouched behind a tree, through the fog glowing crimson. He saw them, a procession of villagers. All wore white mourning robes, their faces veiled, each carrying a candle that dripped blood-red wax. They moved silently, their feet dragging across the stones. But as Minh peered closer, terror gripped him. Beneath the veils were no human faces. Some were bare skulls, teeth grinning in the firelight. Others had bloated purple flesh, eyes bulging, tongues lolling as if strangled. Their candles burned not with light, but with writhing black smoke that twisted like snakes. The crowd gathered in the central square. At its heart stood a black stone altar, caked in centuries of dried blood. Around it, the villagers knelt and began chanting in a distorted tongue, their voices rising and falling like a dirge from hell. Above, the moon glared crimson, bathing everything in blood. From the throng stepped the old blind woman Minh had met before. Her empty eyes gleamed white as she raised a ritual dagger high. The blood moon has come, she rasped. The sacrifice must be made. The crowd howled, their rotting mouths stretching wide. Blood, blood, blood. And then, every eye turned to Minh. Chapter 8. The Shadow in the Mirror. Minh fled in blind panic. The chant, blood, blood, chasing him through the alleys. His feet carried him to a crumbling shrine at the village's edge. Desperate, he stumbled inside and slammed the door. The shrine was abandoned, its statues shattered, offerings long rotted. But one object loomed intact, A giant mirror framed in carved wood, entwined with writhing dragons. Its surface shimmered in the crimson moonlight. Minh approached, heart hammering. His reflection stared back, exhausted, drenched in sweat. Then it smiled. Minh's lips were shut tight. But in the mirror, his double's mouth stretched wide into a grotesque grin. Its eyes blackened, hollow, burning with hatred. The reflection tilted its head independently of him. A voice seeped from the glass. "You cannot escape? You belong here?" The mirror darkened to liquid shadow. Hands burst forth, rotting, skeletal, clawing desperately to reach him. Cracks spider-webbed across the glass, each fissure bleeding fresh red. Dozens of screaming faces appeared, their mouths gaping, arms outstretched, trying to drag him inside. "You must replace us," they shrieked. The shrine filled with the sound of shattering glass and wailing souls. Minh dropped to his knees, covering his ears, realizing the mirror was no reflection at all. It was a prison for the damned, and the door was opening. Chapter 9. The Ghost Wedding. He burst from the shrine, running until his lungs burned. But the village had transformed. Houses glowed with flickering lamplight. Drums and horns blared, warped into a macabre celebration. The villagers lined the streets, forming two endless rows, holding candles and watching silently. At the far end, a wedding palanquin appeared, draped in red cloth and wilting white flowers. On it sat a bride, veiled in white, gown stained with ancient blood. A ragged priest stepped forward, his skeletal fingers pointing straight at Minh. "The groom has arrived." Hundreds of veiled heads turned to him in unison. Their chant rose, "Welcome the groom, welcome the groom." Minh struggled, but two towering figures seized his arms in iron grips, dragging him forward. The bride descended, her veil falling away. Minh's stomach lurched. Her face was no face. Flesh sloughed off in strips. One eye dangled by a cord of sinew. Lips torn and blue curved into a hideous smile. She placed icy hands on his cheeks, her rancid breath hot against his ear. "From this night on, you are mine. Forever." The villagers danced in circles, clapping, singing their corpse song. The drums pounded faster. The horns screeched. Minh was trapped in a nightmarish wedding. The bride pressing closer, whispering through her rotting grin, "We are wed." Chapter 10. The Tunnel of White Bones. Minh wrenched free, tearing down a narrow alley. He found himself in a ruined chapel, where a broken plank hid a tunnel beneath the floor. With no choice, he crawled inside. The stench hit him first, rot, mold, and blood. His flashlight revealed walls lined not with stone, but human bones, skulls stacked by the hundreds, hollow sockets leering, ribs and femurs fused into the structure itself. A rattling echoed. One skull turned its head. Minh's heart seized. Bones clattered, fell, and reassembled. Arms, ribs, spines clinked into place. Skeletons rose from the walls, eyes glowing red. He ran. The tunnel stretched endlessly. Behind him, the clatter of bone grew louder, an army of skeletons giving chase. At last, a stone door loomed, carved with sigils. In its center was the imprint of a hand, above which read in dried blood, "Blood will open the way." The skeletons closed in. Minh bit his finger, pressed it to the stone. Symbols flared red, and the door groaned open. Inside yawned a cavernous blackness. A wind howled out, carrying screams of countless souls. Chapter 11. The Ancestor's Curse. The chamber beyond was vast. Its pillars bent like monstrous spines. Bones carpeted the ground, a sea of white and rock. At its heart stood a monolithic stone stele, carved with ancient blood-soaked words. Minh brushed the grime, reading with trembling fingers. Our ancestors made a pact with the demon. Each generation must feed it blood. Without this, the village will be erased. Lower down, the chosen one carries the mark. His blood sustains us. Etched below was an image of a bound man bleeding upon a stone pillar. Villagers bowing in worship. Minh staggered back, cold realization flooding him. The journal's warning, the whispers, the one who comes after will be the next sacrifice. And then came the footsteps. Corpses stood from the bone heaps, villagers long dead. Flesh rotted, eyes hollow yet burning red. They stepped forward, arms outstretched, whispering in unison, "You are the key? You must continue the pact?" The steel bled afresh, crimson pouring down its face. A monstrous laugh shook the cavern. Deep and inhuman. Your blood will open the way. Chapter 12. The Gravekeepers. The bone piles collapsed, reforming into grotesque guardians, some strangled, some gutted, some eyeless, all now animated, their joints cracking as they advanced. Minh ran, stumbling through a narrow pit beneath the steel. The crawlspace reeked of rot, and soon he found himself crawling over heaps of skulls. Hundreds stared up, empty sockets glowing faintly. Then they laughed. The sound echoed hideously as the skulls rolled and clattered, chanting, "Sacrifice, sacrifice, your blood, your blood." Minh pressed onward, panic driving him, but he knew. These were the Gravekeepers, victims of centuries of offerings, now bound eternally to guard the pact, and they would never let him leave. Chapter 13. The Final Sacrifice. The tunnel dropped him into a vast underground square. A towering black pillar loomed at its center, its surface slick with ages of dried blood. Villagers seized him, chanting. A ragged priest raised a ritual blade, eyes blazing. "Tonight, the outsider's blood renews the pact. The village shall live another century." The mob roared. "Blood, blood, blood." They bound Minh to the pillar. He screamed, fought, but the ropes cut deep, bleeding his wrists. The priest lifted the blade high when the ground split. From the abyss rose a colossal hand, claws slick with muck and blood. Then came the body, a chained titan with burning eyes and fanged jaws. Bellowing for blood, the earth shook. Villagers shrieked as the beast dragged them screaming into the pit, tearing them apart. Blood sprayed, painting the altar red anew. The monster turned to Minh, hunger blazing in its eyes. Chapter 14. The Sole Survivor. The claw reached for him. Minh, desperate, tore free from the ropes. Skin ripping, blood streaming, seizing a torch, he rammed it into the cursed inscriptions on the pillar. The carvings ignited, blazing, the pillar cracked, symbols burning to ash. The monster shrieked, chains tightening, dragging it back into the abyss. The villagers disintegrated into dust, their screams fading. Minh collapsed, chest heaving, the cavern falling silent but for the crackle of dying flames. He stumbled blindly, through tunnels and fog, until he staggered out to the mountain pass. Dawn broke. He collapsed to his knees. He had survived, or so he thought. Chapter 15. The Blood-Red Dawn. The sun crested the horizon, but it did not shine golden. It rose blood-red, staining the mountains like a wound. Minh stared in horror. His wrists still bled, but the blood was moving, forming jagged symbols across his skin. Glowing faintly, he scrubbed at them wildly, but the marks only sank deeper. The words seared into his flesh. "You are part of the village. You will return." A chill swept behind him. In the crimson mist, he saw them. The villagers in white funeral robes, standing motionless, their veiled faces turned toward him. The wind whispered their eternal chant. "You can never escape. You are the next. Dawn is only the beginning." Minh's scream stuck in his throat as the red sun glared down. The sky bleeding, deep in the mountains, a laugh echoed, warped, guttural, yet it came not from the village. It came from within him. The dawn that day was red as blood.